The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 19th day of September, 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Companies, Medical House, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman, and joined by my guest co-host, Rajay Dembrook, and Maya Palasi will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Raj, what's popping?
Morning, Mr. Hartman. How's it going today?
It's all good, Mr. Dembrook. You had a birthday recently, right?
I did have a birthday. Why are you reminding me of this whole, I'm aging gracefully, but why do you have to remind me that that's taking place? Why do you have to remind me I'm catching you and Teo up? I'm just...
Wow. Raj, I'm with you. I'm with you because, I was like, man, everybody's reminding me I'm 1 year closer to that big day. But hey, you know what? I'll have a non-alcoholic Heineken Zero in that celebration because we missed it. But yeah, it's birthday month around here, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you and Teo are Virgos too. I completely forgot.
Yeah, you didn't miss me birthday or Teo, did you?
Wait, when? Because I know that y'all was like it's close to mine.
Yours was the 6th?
Yeah, mine's is. I know I'm first, and like Teo is right after me, and you're right after Tay. If it's any constellation, so like my family, everybody's like a Scorpio, and all of their birthdays fall in like 2 weeks in October. So I don't remember my mama's, my dad's, my sister. So don't take it personally. It's not just you.
This guy don't remember his mama's birthday. I'm not laughing at you. I'm with you.
No, it's fine.
Dude, hey folks, if you've learned anything from Rajay this morning, do not take anything personal.
Don't. Really don't. If you do, like you're gonna stress that. Don't do that. No.
All right. Well, Maya's birthday is April 15th. Okay. So.
Okay.
Oh.
Wait. Oh shoot! I wish everyone could see Maya right now.
Maya's birthday is in April. Okay, Baraj, just remember April. Okay. Yeah, that's the deal. Yeah. Okay. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today. It's September is World Alzheimer's Month. And, we have Erica Fulton on. We're having a conversation about dementia and Alzheimer's. So, I know in my family we have been impacted by my nana, and I know in a small community like Bermuda with an aging population, it's more likely than not someone who knows someone who's impacted. So looking forward to the conversation. Find out what we can do in the community to ensure that we're doing our part to help with Alzheimer's and dementia. The daily play is a remember when. So this is Raj. This is your first time getting to answer a trivia question. So
correct.
It's a remember when today. So I guess it's his. I don't know what the question is. It's going to be a bit of history. I don't know if we're going to go back to the 60s, 50s, 1800s, or early 2000s, but you'll find out today. How's that?
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, let's jump to it. So today, what we have, do I have the wrong mic up? I'm sorry, guys. I had the wrong mic on just now. Did you hear everything I was saying?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, you were a bit. That's much better. Like it's fixed now.
I had the wrong mic on, guys. I am so sorry. Thanks to Maya again for checking that up. She
none of us
Miss Producer back there. But you know what? Hey, This is live. This is live. That's what we do. Look, let's jump in today. So there was something that I got from a politician. I got from an MP yesterday, Raj. It was a video. I'm going to put it on the politician. A video about some upcoming demonstration. Let's call it a demonstration, right? Thank you, Headline, for accepting my apology. So there's a video, and I want to share it with the audience. There's a video of a demonstration coming up, and I want to know who's behind it. Oh, no, you know what? No, I don't. I guess we want to know the point, the purpose, and the goal. So let's show you this video that was going around, and we're going to have a conversation. And it was on our Instagram stories. If you follow us on Instagram, it was on our stories. So let's check this out. So basically, it's a call for a demonstration on Kinley Field. Now, location, I don't understand location. I'm not trying to make that the thing because it's more important things than that. But interest in location. But I guess the question of the morning is, we have these marches, we have demonstrations, and the question that I'd like to know and that people would like to know is, what do you hope the upcoming demonstration will achieve? Like when we go out and we demonstrate against government, when we march, what are we hoping to achieve? I know, Raj, I want to put you in a personal situation. You were at a town hall, for instance, on education, and you were very vocal. I've had my issues with conscription where we were fighting the government, and our overall objective we knew was to end conscription, right? Your overall objective for the schools is to ensure that your daughters, your children, have the best facilities and space to learn and grow in, right? So I guess it's not just about being disgruntled. Being disgruntled at government is so easy. I mean, they make it easy. But what's the overall objective? What is the goal? What do we hope that this demonstration will achieve if people turn out to go to it? Like, what are the hopes?
Yeah, I think it's important that remember like why people end up protesting, and understanding like protest is actually a skill, right? You have to organize, and you need to be specific with your messaging. And the vast majority of people who do protest, they're actually not they're not skilled at it, right? They're not activists. So when I've seen, and remember, I was born 1990, so this was after Bermuda had quote unquote calmed down, so to speak. I had missed all of the major sort of political, what's the word I'm trying to say, frustration. And I missed the riots. I missed the 81 general strike. You had the youth riots back in the 50s. You had the Belko riots back in the 50s. You had people would get up and say something, but now we've become very disconnected from that sort of spirit of resistance and organizing. So I feel like when we protest now, it's not as focused, I think it's important to remember that when people do so that lack of a goal, that doesn't exactly surprise me, but you need a goal. And I think, but it's important to remember why people protest. It's their last resort, right? I think the things that were listed in that video, they're legitimate. I think they're very legitimate concerns for people. Like you mentioned, I've been very concerned with education reform I can talk to you about it for hours, My goal in making noise about education reform is just making sure that this happens in a way that serves the children and families of this country. No politics. I think politics has gotten all up in education reform, and I'll be very honest about this. One thing that I'm sick and tired of is this messaging being pushed that everything's fine when everything is clearly not fine. We're having a teacher exodus. Parents are frustrated. children are starting to, I'm hearing students are now starting to get frustrated. We're not getting accurate messaging. I don't think people really understand what these signature programs actually are in the high schools. We've spent millions of dollars on these consultants from New Zealand for Innovation Unit. They haven't produced anything publicly to detail what has been co-designed, what this new curriculum is, what the learning intentions are. And my background is in education, right? So if you're coming to me with this new curriculum, my first question is going to be, what are the learning objectives?
But so you have a goal.
You should be able to at least tell me what the learning objectives of this, of this signature programming partnership. Nobody can do that.
You have a goal though. You have.
Right, sorry, yeah.
Your fight. You have an objective. And I think So let's be clear. When the One Bermuda Alliance was government, excuse me, one of their sitting MPs actually said, "Oh, the people will make noise for a bit, but then they'll get over it, right? And things will just go back to normal." We have these demonstrations, and then it seems like, okay, what next? And I'm going to give you an example. Let's go back to 2020, June or July 2020. There was this big demonstration down Front Street in Hamilton on the back of the George Floyd stuff. To this day, I call it the March to Nowhere. What was the point, the purpose, and the overall objective? What was the goal of it? No one to this day knows. And when you do stuff like this, when you call for this, right, when you put something up, number one, I think it does help to say who's behind it. It does help. And that's okay, some people are concerned, well, I don't want people to know who's behind it because they may not support it. And it's about the cause. I get that. But also, I don't think we're living in a time where, let's use back in the day, people were afraid to say who was behind it because it might cost them their job and so on. Look, at the end of the day, those are the risks you take when you're fighting for a cause, right? So my hope is that whoever's behind this or whoever's a part of it, whoever attends it, we understand or have a clear goal and objective in mind. That is not just, we're going on there with picket signs. You said something that really threw me off. This show is definitely getting younger. I didn't know you were born in the 90s, so I'm basically outnumbered by young people today. Born in the 90s, you and Maya. That's incredible when I think of it. Like, oh my goodness. But you're right, because both of you speak like you've been around as long as me. Let me just be clear. But when you say that, it helps me realize neither of you were born during the 80s. I was very young, but I remember the TV being turned on in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, and the TV being turned on, and the riots and the protests and the strikes, right? And it was all, it always seemed like there was a goal, like we're fighting for this. They were clear in their messaging. What I saw in this here, and again, I don't know who's behind it. What I saw is people who are disgruntled about something, meaning there's all the issues we have. No matter your issue, let's gather together. We need to figure out, what are you hoping to achieve by getting everyone together? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know about yourself or Maya, Sherry, Larry, anyone. But if you're trying to get me somewhere, you need to tell me more than why we're coming, like because you have an issue. What are we going to do with about these issues?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, no, you're right. And I so respect that point about the Black Lives Matter march here. And I was actually working for Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda at the time, so I was very much immersed in it. And one criticism, I made it very clear, it was completely performative. It was, we learned nothing. Nobody took time to learn about the actual experience and legacy of white supremacist patriarchy in this country and how it plays out systemically and within our minds and bodies contemporaneously. That's the conversation. It's like, we're making this noise, but how are we going to understand this better? And how are we going to actually put policy in place to address these things? Because last time I checked, the only people shooting each other in our streets with our young Black men. The only people in our prisons are Black males. People in poverty in this country are Black. You know what I mean? So economically, ideologically, race hasn't gone anywhere. But those were not the conversations people wanted to have. They wanted to participate in this performative thing, come out with their Black Lives Matter shirt and go, I went to the Black Lives Matter march. But now here I am talking to you. And you explicitly are behaving as if this isn't a conversation you want to have. So yeah, so I completely and we live in a time where things sort of lend themselves towards being performative, right? And I think that's something that's sort of maddening about Bermuda for me right now. It's not about authenticity. It's not about impact. I feel like that's resurgent. You got the amazing organizations like Bermuda is Love, led by young people. Bermuda is Love, Young Leaders Program. Probably said that wrong. Sorry, Ryan.
Future Leaders
Program. Bermuda Youth Connect. So and they're authentic, they're impactful,
Correct.
But I think what they're doing is in response to this very superficial engagement with things, what Bermuda has become. And I'm very happy to see people trying to pursue a protest, trying to make it happen. But it's like we're learning again how to do it, which is strange because, like I said, we literally have centuries of. Like the bloody slave rights, we can go way back to 16, whatever. We want to be free, and this is what we're gonna do to be free. They had a goal. I'm trying to think of one example.
Well, while you're thinking, let me just go into Instagram, Raj, because we did get some responses on our Instagram page, right? So the question, folks, was, what are your thoughts on this upcoming demonstration? And someone said interesting. Another person asks, is this a 1 hour work stoppage request, especially for a teacher? Because you did mention education, teachers may want to attend. Someone said, disagree with what? I'm ignorant of certain processes of government. We only see outcomes, have no idea what that means. Someone says, worldwide problem, colonialism, neo-colonialism. Someone asks, why couldn't they feel? I mean, I generally wondered that, but maybe it's a point. Maybe there's a reason. Someone says, have the unions of each group been in communication, including teachers, will definitely disrupt. Someone says, young students especially cannot be left alone, so parents will likely miss work in financial sector. So I think people care about the greater community. Let me say this. There is a time for protest and demonstration. I think that is a fundamental right that all of us deserve if we feel that we are not getting what we need and desire in life, right? That to me is a fundamental right. I'm glad you called out those 3 groups, because I think those 3 groups, Bermuda is Love, Bermuda Youth Connect, and Future Leaders, they have purpose, they have plans, they're very intentional, right? I think, and I'm not picking on the unions or political parties, but I think the unions have evolved, right? There's someone asking, are the unions involved? They've evolved. And they've evolved to a place where people just don't take to them the same, right? The unions would be the ones leading protests like this previously. They would be the ones. The Stuart Haywards and Best Bermuda, right? They would be the ones leading these charges. Today, I feel as if the people of Bermuda have no clear organization. And so when Maya and I talk backstage, I'm like, what organization? Unfortunately, we're just not in that space. Remember Enda Methy? When she sat up on the hill, that wasn't a part of an organization. That was a one woman. Unfortunately, we're in a place where it may take one person to push for change if they have a plan. She had a plan. She said, I'm sitting up on this hill and not eating. I'm going on a hunger strike until da-da-da-da-da. Did the government of the day back down? Well, they sure did. Yeah, although the current government's probably pushing that same pathway to status, but that's neither here or there. But folks, what are your hopes? Audience, let us know. Like, what do you hope the upcoming demonstration will achieve? You've seen it. We showed you earlier. If you haven't seen it, I'll just play it again, just so those who may have just tuned in. There's an upcoming demonstration tomorrow Don Kinley Field. What are your thoughts? Like, what do you hope that this demonstration will achieve? All right, so folks, excuse me. My hope, Rajay, is that people will go there with an intent to leave there with solutions. I hope it's not performative. I really hope that it's not something that, for the most part, is just happening because some people have to air out their grievances publicly. You know, I hope that for the most part, it's something that can beat the catalyst to the change that everyone who is disgruntled sees and wants and desires. But recent history has made me question whether or not that will happen.
I think that's a very kind way of putting it. I'm gonna be blunt. I think that, so you made a really good point about like our relationship with our institutions, our traditional institutions, especially our Black institutions, has fundamentally changed, right? And that's just the natural ebb and flow of evolution. But I know that Bermudians, so now things are with the people, which is actually a very cool position to be in, because now we got to remember our power and remember what we are a representative democracy, right? I mean, a representative democracy. I said that right. I think I said that right. But anyhow, I mean, in theoretical terms, in fundamental terms, the power rests with us. In literal terms, the power rests with the people of this country. It's time for the people of this country to organize and remember who they are, instead of doing this reactionary, make noise, I feel good about it, and then I walk away. And the other thing, and then I'll be quiet, is that I feel like everything that they listed in that video, like I said, these people, those are legitimate concerns. I mean, I know a young farmer who's come back to Bermuda. He has a degree in agricultural engineering, just trying to do positive things in the community, but his just being held up by government and sort of the cultural bureaucracy in government. And I think mindsets towards young people and towards young Black men in particular. And he is being held up. And he's frustrated, and now he wants to, he's in a position where he may have to shut down what he's doing, and he's just going to leave Bermuda and go back to where he trained. That's not what we need. So I think the concerns, the communities that are listed in that call to action is accurate. But like you said, what it lacks is organization, and what we want now is like people have to organize properly.
Indeed. Ebony Souza says, I hope it gets the right people in the right spaces to encourage change, because I feel all of these frustrations. And I think, Ebony, many people feel the frustrations along with you. Interestingly enough, Rosalind Famous says, I think we have to be careful not to easily discredit how people demonstrate/protest. Every form of manifest and disagreement plays its part. Protests bring awareness. Yes, some protesters might not have the same effect or bite, but it's a way of starting conversations. I agree.
Yeah, that's fair.
I agree. I think, and she does. It's a first step.
Yeah.
But Rosalind, I think you would even admit that criticism, and not it is criticism maybe, that Rajay and I both agreed with earlier about the march to nowhere, as I call it. What was it a first step to? What came after that? So I take your point. I appreciate it, and I agree. Like, that first step is important. but there still needs to be some sort of plan and objective, because if not, then we'll have MPs saying and politicians, oh, they'll make noise, but then they'll just get over it and things will just go along. So that's my concern, and it's been proven in recent times. Let's bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour news break. Don't forget, we've got Erica Fulton coming up for a very important conversation on Alzheimer's and dementia, as it is World Alzheimer's Awareness Month. All right, so stick with us. I'll bring Maya in, see what she's got for the Daily Hour news break.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, Maya.
Morning.
Good. While you guys are having that conversation, it just reminded me just about like we were talking about March on Washington and just protests and how hard it is really to put all of that together. And I know that there's a movie that's recently out about the perspective of putting that whole entire protest together from the March on Washington. I believe it's going to come out soon, but a friend of mine saw it and she was like, it was amazing because they had to like fly people in, bus people there, all of this stuff that goes behind, protests, and like in back then, and then imagine it today, like, it might seem like it should be easier, right, to get people to come out and do these protests, but like, it's so much to it. It's so much to it behind the scenes.
No, it is, and there's different ways, and I definitely don't want to dismiss it. There's different ways to protest. I know people have found ways to do silent protest. They've done boycott protest, meaning, oh, okay, we're not gonna shop or support this. Things that don't require as much effort, if per se. But you're absolutely correct, Maya. Like busloads of people organizing transportation, organizing hotel stay, organizing food for protesters and water. It's a lot to it. But I still say that no matter the protest, there should always be an objective. There should always be a plan, a guide to what do we hope to achieve, so that we're not here and being, to use the term Roger used earlier, performative.
Agreed.
Yeah. Real quickly, before we get in the news break, I just want to go back. Maya, so Manuela John, she said, Roger, don't be rude to Jamal and Teo while you still have hair. So, Maya, do you know about this story?
What story? Just the fact that you're old and he's young?
TNJ's Barbershop, you know about
His barber. So remember the radio back in the day, we wanted to cut Roger's hair. So first, we permed it, right?
Oh, I forgot you did that first.
Oh, it's all on social media, and so and then we cut his hair. So TNJ's Barbershop. So Maya, I'm gonna share with the audience. I'm gonna share some pictures back in the day. But Rod, I'm surprised you still love us, man. We love you, man.
Why did you do that? Look, I gotta get to this news. Sorry.
All I want to say is this: Miss Manuela, is that Mr. Manuela?
Miss
Manuela, ma'am. I apologize. I love you. I'm so sorry. I am going 30. I've got 2 babies on my own. It ain't like that back then. I would drop kick Taylor and Jamal so quick. I wouldn't care.
Hey, here's a man now. He'll fight back. He won't let us do it.
Hazing. See this cultural hazing? No, I'm not for it. All right, good morning, everyone. This is the Daily Hour News brought to you by the amazing people at People's Pharmacy. Your news update for this morning is that from the police spokesperson about the incident that I spoke of about gunshots being fired. They say not gunshots being fired. That's my second. Sorry, I apologize. This one's about the serious vehicle collision that I mentioned in yesterday's news break and how it was deemed as life-threatening injuries. While the update is that the hospital later confirmed that the rider, said to be a 37-year-old Southampton man who was injured last Friday's single vehicle collision around 3:35 p.m., sustained non-life-threatening injuries. So it has shifted in that sense, so like they have sustained non-life-threatening injuries.
Good to hear that.
Yeah. And further on, with the investigation continues into the confirmed firearm incident, which occurred in the area of Court Street and Elliott Street in Pembroke shortly after 11 p.m. on Saturday, September 16th. So this is the one where they found the spent shell, the single spent shell, not the one prior on the 13th, where someone was unfortunately hit. But they say that while forensic evidence was recovered at the scene, officers are still keen on hearing from members of the public, particularly anyone who is among the large group of people who were at the location at the time of when the shooting occurred. The suspects are described as two males wearing dark clothing, traveling on a dark-colored motorcycle. One of the suspects reportedly discharged a firearm in the direction of the group of people who were gathered on the sidewalk. Then they rode off in the direction of Teals Hill. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Sergeant Odessa Phillip at 717-2193 as well. You can talk to an officer that you know and trust to give this information to. So that's another option as well. Moving on to some hurricanes. I know they're probably tired of hearing it, but we know it's hurricane season, so it's going to happen. But right now there is a slight potential for Hurricane Nigel, they say. So following the noon forecast yesterday from the Bermuda Weather Service, Hurricane Nigel is not considered to be a threat to Bermuda at this time. Nigel's closest point of approach to Bermuda is forecast to be around more than 500 nautical miles to the east at 9 p.m. on Tuesday, September the 19th, to be its closest approach. Yesterday, the Minister of National Security, Michael Weeks, noted that the EMO will continue to monitor Hurricane Nigel over the next 2 days. However, it is not anticipated that there will be a disruption to any government public services, they say.
Can I use that term that we learned last week, Maya? Can I say that this looks like it's going to be a fish storm?
Yes, you can use that term. And just a reminder that there were 12 named hurricanes for this season, and Nigel is obviously the third hurricane to be mentioned in our system for Bermuda. So looking like a long season. Now, this next story is actually coming from the Gazette. You can read the full story there, but this actually has to do with the government house. So coming from the Gazette, the governor and her family are moved out of the government house because it is not safe to live in and needs urgent repairs. On the image there, you can see that the government house is located on 33 acres of ground in Pembroke Parish and is the office and residence of the governor of Bermuda. While the story continued to say that the governor, Ms. Rena Lauji, her husband, and the children are staying in temporary accommodations paid for by taxpayers until the work is completed. The news comes 18 months after Parliament heard that the 19th century building in Langton Hill was suffering from extensive water damage because of a leaking roof and faulty windows, but major repairs were deferred owing to a lack of cash. Minister Rebane said that the windows needed replacing at a cost of almost $2 million, and the roof needed replacing at an estimate cost of $450,000. The minister admitted water damage would increase exponentially until these major capital project and association operation costs could be funded.
Man, that property looks very big from what they call that, drone footage.
Aerial view, yeah.
Yeah, it looks huge. So where's the governor staying now? Is it a secret?
Didn't say in the article.
Who's
there.
paying for her temporary place to stay?
That says paid by the taxpayers, obviously.
Dang. So we gotta pay to get the
Can we do some research? Because I did see that someone from Social Justice Bermuda said that we're one of the only countries that actually pay for our governor. And
I remember that story.
Can't be. No way.
That can't be true. Maya, that can't be true, can it? Please tell me that's not true.
I will look, I'm gonna write it down right now.
Because folks, that's very interesting if we're like one of the only territories doing that. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does not.
I know the answer's out there because I remember the story and I remember I just can't remember the answer to it, but I do remember that question being posed a while back.
Okay.
So I'll look into that and hopefully get an answer for you guys tomorrow. All right. Coming up next to my story before I close out a bit, but there's an inaugural art month coming in Bermuda for the first time ever, which is quite interesting, but the BTA has put it on. Here's just some of the events that are happening. Now, I'll be honest to say that most of the events that are happening went through the entire list, and it's things that already happen on a regular. Most of it is things that already happen on a regular, but you get to see it all in one space now if you go to the BTA, and they have it now called Art Month, a Bermuda Experience. Now, some things are a little bit new, like there are some gallery openings and also some artist talks, and they say something that's almost like a tiny desk as type of vibe that's going to be happening as well for the musicians in Bermuda. Which might be similar to something that's already being done on island, truthfully, by Derek Simmons, who does a lot of those pieces with other musicians on the island on his YouTube as well. But this is something that the BTA has put on and hopefully getting a lot of artists behind it. But it's just showing you all the events that can happen in the month of October with many museums, because if you didn't know, we have a ton of galleries in Bermuda, and it was like 4 pages long. But yeah, so that's going to be happening now, and hopefully it invites visitors and residents to step into the world of artistic wonder and cultural exploration during the inaugural Bermuda Art Month from October 1st to October 31st. So that's the news there.
I like it. I'm gonna be honest. I like it. You know, Maya has educated me about art, and I think I do have an appreciation for it. You don't understand how important art is to a community until you kind of understand art. So I like, that's a good move. Let's give them a for the BTA on that.
It's their first month doing it, so get out there, support the artists of Bermuda. Ask your favorite artists in Bermuda if they'll actually be taking part of it and what they're going to be doing that you can come out to support them at. Because I know a lot of people aren't going to be messaging and seeing what they're going to be at or what they're going to be doing for Bermuda. Come by and support. All right, and in your sports-related news, Bermuda's Nia Christopher scored twice for her Townsend University women's soccer team, with her latest goals making her the Maryland-based university's all-time leader in career goals with 31.
Yeah, good going. Big up, Nia.
Yeah,
No, let's bring some of those girls to the Bermuda women's national team.
Yes. She will be on the team. She was announced as one of the players for the Bermuda senior women's national squad. There's a list there. Just one more time, as we have the game coming up this Friday, so get ready to support. Ms. Christopher unfortunately won't be playing in the second match. However, she should be playing in the first because she does have some university commitments. But there's your team again. Really good squad, top squad there. A lot of them are members of the team that was undefeated in the NatWest Island game. So big ups to them. Go out and support them on Friday.
Yeah, and real quickly, Maya, I know you said it before. So Leilani Nesbitt is not in the team for something.
She can't because she has a hip injury. They hope that it will be, good enough by this point, but unfortunately, she needs a couple more months to recover. You can't mess around with a hip injury.
Okay.
Yeah. And lastly, I guess we got our weather today is looking mostly sunny. A little bit of light winds, but should be some good weather out there, and a high of 84.
All right, cool. Raj, you got any days of the year for it? Anything special happening today?
Yeah, because I did that.
Oh, so can I do it? Can I do it?
You 100% can do it.
Okay, days of the year. Here we go, folks. You know what today is, Maya?
What's today?
I'm going to tell you. It's Get Ready Day.
Yeah. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Come on, Jamal.
Yeah. So he makes a point. There's no need for Get Ready Day. Well, here's the thing. It's crazy because it says natural disasters have been affecting people since history began, from destructive weather patterns and storms to rapidly spreading diseases and fires. Not all disasters are preventable, but even when they can't be prevented, preparedness can make the difference between life and death so that everyone can survive and thrive after an event. So how do we celebrate Get Ready Day? Well, get ready for Get Ready Day. Brush up, make some plans, and get on board with the day by enjoying some of these activities. Host a Get Ready Day event. Create an emergency plan. Take an emergency readiness class. I'm going to quote Maya, the great philosopher, Maya Palacio. Folks, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Yeah, I don't know if I like this day. I'm not sure. I don't know if I like this day.
I was the only one today. Like, there's nothing real. I was like, I looked. So
let's have a Get Ready event, guys. Let's do a emergency plan event. Let's do that.
What party?
I'm not sure if I want to get together.
I mean, all these hurricanes, might as well everyone be very much ready and prepared for all this season. So
this is quite true. This is I don't know if I want to call, do a community event and do up a hurricane. Get Ready Day. This is a great day.
Yeah, get ready. I stay ready, get ready. Maya, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right, folks, do not go anywhere. We've got a very important community conversation coming up with Erica Fulton. We're talking Alzheimer's and dementia. Please make sure you share the link to your friends, your family, get your questions ready, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's. I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Rajay Denbrook, I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to Erica Fulton. We are talking Alzheimer's and dementia. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, they're excited, as you can hear. They're loud and making a lot of noise. But
I love it.
Thank you for doing this. So let's jump right into it. This is a conversation that as we have an aging population, as mentioned prior to you coming on, it's seemingly touching so many different families in Bermuda, but not quite sure people have an understanding of what dementia and Alzheimer's actually are. So can you just explain what Alzheimer's and dementia actually are on a surface level?
Of course. So dementia is a term to describe different brain disorders that affect our memory, thinking, behavior, and emotions. So it is not a natural part of aging, which is what many of us think. So I'm here today to talk about, as you say, in Bermuda, by 2025, we expect, or we estimate that 24.9% of our population will be over 65. And we estimate that there are between 2,000 and 3,000 people currently in Bermuda living with a form of dementia. So to start out, asked me to describe dementia. And Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. So there are different types of dementia. And Alzheimer's is the most common one that we talk about. And it's 50 to 75% of dementia diagnosis is Alzheimer's.
And what are some of the signs and symptoms of dementia?
Yeah, I mean, this is always one, and I think particularly for people who are older, get quite nervous around, we have ordinary forgetfulness versus memory loss. And the importance of really kind of understanding that difference. I saw a good description that talked about ordinary forgetfulness might be, I'm talking with my neighbor and I just cannot remember their name. It just, and that can happen to all of us, whatever age we are. But when you're older, it sort of makes you feel more nervous. And then there's memory loss, which might be, I'm talking to my neighbor, I can't remember their name, but I also can't remember that they are my neighbor. I have no idea who they are. So kind of that sequencing and logic has been distorted and becomes very confused. So things like getting dressed in the morning can become difficult, knowing which order to put our clothes on. So family are probably going to be the first ones that might be noticing some of these changes. And I think the first and foremost, the most important thing is to seek the help from your GP. Often people are scared to get a diagnosis because it feels sort of terminal. And that's it. I'm going to get that dementia diagnosis and my life is over. And we're here today, as you said, it was World Alzheimer's Month. We're here to say life does not end with a dementia diagnosis. Certainly, it's going to change your life significantly and your loved ones around you, but there's still so much life to be lived. And during World Alzheimer's Month, which is the theme is never too early, never too late, is about our brain health and the things that we can do. Interestingly, actually, there's a lot of evidence around this now that there are 12 modifiable risk factors that anyone as young, I was born in 1981, so I'm probably older than you even, Jamal, but even I can be adopting today, these kind of following these modifiable risk factors. What are things I can do in my life today before I'm older that can help reduce or even potentially prevent me developing dementia or a form of dementia? And I won't go into all 12, but a lot of them, you won't be surprised to hear, are similar to what we think about when we're trying to lead a healthy lifestyle. So not excessive alcohol, remaining active, no smoking. Interestingly, one is early education. Sorry, that was one of my ears falling out. Early education is really important in our brain health. So thinking about things that we can do today.
That I like that because I didn't. We obviously we're going to get to that, but the fact that just a good diet impacts so many different things, right? Thankfully, I think this year was 3 or 4 years I haven't had an alcoholic beverage, so I think I'm on the right track. I don't smoke, so I think we're in some good health. But in saying that, you kind of went into it a bit earlier about the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, and Alzheimer's being a form of dementia. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Just because I think I'm one, even after my grandmother was diagnosed, who still thinks that one and the same, right? But as you said, it's a form of dementia.
Yeah, so dementia would be the umbrella. So all of those brain disorders fall within it. So we have Alzheimer's and then vascular dementia, which is an interesting one. That's sort of the second most prevalent. And that's for people who have often had strokes. And what will happen with the mini strokes, the acronym TIAs, I'm not going to say the whole name because I'm not a scientist. So people who have a series of TIAs, and it's that repetitive damage to the brain that can lead to vascular dementia, which is often not something that people connect with automatically with strokes. There's Lewy bodies, and then there's frontotemporal dementia as well. So different types. We kind of use Alzheimer's because that is the most common. So it's World Alzheimer's Month, but really that's representing dementia in general. So it is confusing. And I think they sort of get lumped together to really just try to shine that spotlight on the condition.
Yeah, so you mentioned strokes just now about as being one cause of one kind of dementia. With the other subtypes, what are some other things that can contribute to a diagnosis?
So, yeah, I mean, what is leading to dementia is damage to the brain cells. And I was reading, actually, this is really interesting because it's sort of talking about that never too early, never too late. That dementia can form decades before any symptoms. So even as a 30-year-old, you might be heading down that path, but there are things that you can do that we can all do. Those 12 modifiable risk factors are sort of our gym for the brain. You know, we talk a lot about our physical health, which is one of those modifiable risk factors, but also working our brain, connecting, keeping those kind of brain cells connecting and firing as much as we can. We partner with an organization here called North Star Dementia, which is a really great resource out there in our community. It's run by Marie Fay, who is an occupational therapist who is a dementia care specialist, occupational therapist, I should say. She's been working in this field in Bermuda for 20 years. She has a really good handle on our needs in our community and, trying to get across that message that you are not alone, that there is life to still be lived following a dementia diagnosis. So one of the areas that she does, and we actually fund it. So Action on Alzheimer's and Dementia fund it. It's a 6-week program that people who are in their earlier stages of their dementia diagnosis can attend 2 hours a week, where they're really, it's like brain gym. So going to the gym for your brain, you're working on all of those things that are keeping kind of you cognitively stimulated.
Are there any common stages across like all the different kinds of dementia?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first and foremost would be that it's impacting your daily life. So I mentioned like that inability to remember what order to put your clothes on, or you're out driving and you don't recall. You know, I know we all have those momentary lapses where we think, oh gosh, where am I going? What road am I taking? But in a more significant way, that it impacts your daily living. It impacts your relationships. I said when we were talking about dementia being that term that describes different brain disorders that refer to memory and thinking, but as well as emotions and behavior. So somebody's behavior might change. You might see, I know my grandfather was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and his behavior changed significantly with it. And I think that's what can be so difficult for family members, and what can make this really isolating, because often with a dementia diagnosis, there's some shame that comes with it, and people can withdraw from the community, which really only exacerbates, one of these risk factors is social exclusion. So people who are more socially excluded are increasing their risk of dementia, and if they have dementia, kind of quickening that journey of those symptoms that you see that are really impacting their life and changing that person. I think, Jamal, I'm sure you would attest to this, but the physical person is there who you love and who you remember, but their personality is so changed. And I think that can just be so devastating for the family. And if you're feeling alone and isolated, it really just, it becomes such an overwhelming position for a family to be in. It's interesting, in Bermuda, 80% of caregivers are family members, 80%. And you think that might be a child or a spouse. And they might have their job that they're trying to do, their full-time job that they're trying to do. The stresses and strains that it puts on a family unit cannot be underestimated. And I think it's just so important. Gosh, we've got 25% of our population falling into this category. Age is certainly a risk, which is a risk factor, I should say, in developing dementia, which is why we often think, oh, you're just getting old, it's fine. It's part of, it's not. Dementia is not a natural part of aging, and we need to get, it's a disease.
And it's interesting. Sorry, Raj. I laugh because it's like we make ourselves believe that it can't happen to us because of age, even with different diseases, cancers maybe. It's honestly, I think some people will say, well, it's 1 in a million, but I think education is so important because of everything you just said. So thank you for that. Sorry, Raj, go ahead.
No, it's fine. And this idea that you need community, like if you don't have community, that's a risk factor, and also in care, you need community. And I think something that we often forget as human beings, we're interconnected, and it's a very, in this world, we like to think we're individuals. We ain't. We need each other. And actually, goes right into my next question. So, what sort of care do dementia and Alzheimer's patients need? And to know that 80% is from family, that's a huge burden. I mean, I use that word burden loosely, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's complex, isn't it? Because like you say, it's a burden, but it's your loved one. So you never want to look at it that way, but it is essentially that. It is a significant impact on the family unit. And so really, you touch on it, that community piece is so important. Getting the message out there about what is dementia, try not to create as much fear around it. It is there. We cannot escape the reality of what it is, but what we can change is how we approach it, and what we're going to do to try and enable people living with dementia, but also their loved ones, to live their best possible life. So one thing that we do at Action on Alzheimer's and Dementia, we have daily activities where we provide those at Peace Lutheran Church, sort of 2 hours a day, where people come out of their home with their caregiver and they come and we have music therapy, we have singing, we have chair yoga, we have chair exercises, and it's all about creating a sense of community. It's creating structure. It's getting you out of your home. It's getting you socializing with people who are in a similar situation to you. It's creating a space for caregivers to come together as well, where they can share their stories and provide support for each other. And then it's also providing that really meaningful and engaging stimulation. So, you know, the power of music, the power of art. We have a lot of art that we do, that just moving your body. So instead of sitting perhaps all day at home while your loved one is trying to get their job done and you're kind of left at home and they're hoping that you stay safe, you know, and that stress that creates around people's safety as well. So instead of that, you're coming out and you're engaging in something, you know, and I'm not here to say that we're taking away that dementia diagnosis by any means, but the overwhelming reports when people go home from that 2-hour session where they've come out of their house and taken part in something meaningful is, you know, their behavior, their attitude. People are more restful, more peaceful. Often you do get more challenging, you know, agitated behaviors associated with dementia, and to be able to ease that for a family. And we provide these classes free of charge, so nobody has to pay. They can just come out. We're here to say, you know, you're not alone in that dementia diagnosis.
Understood. I know Jamel's mentioned a number of times the reality that we have an aging population. So, you know, with this demographic time bomb coming at us very quickly and in a very, very real way, and with the prevalence of dementia expanding, what do you know if any conversations are happening with government to sort of expand resources?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, we can't escape it. So Alzheimer's Disease International, which is sort of the global body, and Bermuda is a member of it, and they represent kind of the dementia cause, for example, at the World Health Organization. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Can you remind me? Sorry.
No, it was like, so.
I just got really.
No, usually that's me. I'm surprised I haven't done that once during the show yet. And in terms of government expanding services in the face of this coming.
Yeah. So a really big thing that the ADI, the Alzheimer's Disease International body, is pushing is national dementia care plans. You know, the number of people living with dementia is set to triple by 2050. And we already know, as we keep saying, our population is going to be 25%. And the difficult thing in Bermuda is we don't actually have any realistic statistics, well, I should say accurate statistics. So the number that we use is 2,000 to 3,000 people in Bermuda are living with this. So when you don't have accurate statistics, it's really hard to plan. So one thing that would be really great to see in Bermuda is a national dementia care plan. What are we proposing that we do? We can't continue to as we are, because the stresses and the burdens on the family structure is overwhelming, and people are not going to be able to continue to care for their loved ones when there isn't the financial support to give them the care that they need. So they have to sacrifice their job. That's just not sustainable. So yeah, we would love to see a more structured approach to what are we going to do in Bermuda to tackle this, because it's a global health crisis that is not going away. It is only increasing, and we have these, so 12 modifiable risk factors that we can start addressing today. But there are things on there like air pollution, which is really interesting. So that's not something I as an individual can tackle. But as a government, looking at things like that, our early education opportunities, what does that look like? So yeah, in terms of answering your question, there isn't a clear path. And And we certainly would love to see one where we can understand kind of what Bermuda's approach is going to be towards this, rather than that reactive approach. I think you were talking about that earlier. That's often how we function, is that reactionary approach. But this is going to be, I mean, know our healthcare system is already so overwhelmed and overburdened. This is another piece on top of that really needs to be tackled.
All right, we have quite a few comments. So I'm going to ask if you can be concise in some of the responses. And folks, you can keep the questions coming, but I'm going to start with Charles H. just a second. He says, has there been an increase in the diagnosis of dementia since the start of the pandemic? Do we have any idea how many have never been diagnosed and symptoms are considered to be just due to old age?
That's a really great question. And I am sure, you think about that impact that isolation had. We talk about that being a risk factor in exacerbating symptoms. There is no formal registry of people with dementia, so it's hard to know officially if there is. We have certainly seen an increase in the number of people coming to us, people looking for support. What was the second part of the question? It was
just asking, do we have any idea how many have never been diagnosed and symptoms considered just
a lot? Yeah, a lot. Too many.
Okay. Rosalind Fame is asking, is the service that you mentioned available to persons that do not have a dementia diagnosis, people who just need social activities?
We would love it to be open to everyone. As a charity, we do have to be kind of specific in what our remit is. So our aim is to work with people living with a dementia diagnosis. But, that can often be people living with Parkinson's may also have or be towards acquiring dementia. And so we have often people like that who are joining us. So we are not looking for a doctor's certificate that says you have an official dementia diagnosis. But yeah, somebody who is displaying symptoms and signs of dementia, a form of dementia, is kind of who we work with specifically.
All right. Rosalind Fame is asking, can specific dementia be diagnosed without a CAT scan?
I don't want to answer this just because it's not my background. That would be something to discuss with your GP. I know, there are often tests that you can find on the internet that can help you figure out potentially, is this something that I might have or my loved one has? In terms of an absolute official diagnosis, I'm not sure. Sorry. It's famous. I'm not sure I can answer that.
No problem. Just as you head out, just let people know where they can go to learn more about dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Alzheimer's Dementia International, so the ADI, which is about, as I said, kind of that global network, is a really great resource. Our website, aad.bm, North Star Dementia in Bermuda. Also, I think sometimes it's hard, dementia is the same anywhere in the world, but it is sometimes more helpful when you get kind of Bermuda specific information and advice. So aad.bm, which is our website, and North Star Dementia as well, I would say would be great resources. I think the most important thing is try not to feel alone in this. And I think it can be so isolating. So realizing that there are people here who are in the same position as you, but there are also organizations here who are here to help you. So I just encourage people to reach out and to get that help and to seek that support from your GP as well. And if you feel strongly about it, continue. We have had some people say there are certain GPs who are like, it's just part of dementia, old age. What are you going to do if you get a diagnosis and there's nothing you can do anyway? Well, we're to say actually it can be more effective to get that diagnosis so you know what supports you need. And it also can help family understand better the situation that might be happening within your family structure as well.
Great. Thank you for this conversation. A lot more questions in the audience, but like I said, and I say it all the time, if we don't get through everything today, we just have another conversation about this very important topic. So Erica, Fulton, thank you so much for the conversation, and please keep in touch. Let us know what we can do on our show, this platform, to keep the conversation going.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Folks, if you appreciated the conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share that conversation with your friends, your families, your colleagues. Just make sure everyone has the information necessary to make important decisions about their health, their family, loved ones. We're going to take our final break. We'll come back with the Daily Play, Roger's first Daily Play. And after the Daily Play, we'll give our final thoughts on today's show. So stick with us.
Are you ready to reel in incredible savings? Get set, because right now at ER Fisheries and Foods, we're making a splash with 10% off store-wide back-to-school sale. Dive into delicious savings today. It's a feast for your wallet. Swing by ER Fisheries and Foods in person or surf our online store to savor these unbeatable deals. But hurry now, the 10% off store-wide sale won't last long. ER Fisheries, your destination for the finest fish, seafood, meats, and more.
All right. Thanks again to Erica Fulton coming on, having a very important conversation about Alzheimer's and dementia. Folks, check them out, see if they have the resources to assist if you are dealing with such in your life. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lenders, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can have these important community conversations on a daily basis. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Raj, are you ready?
I'm not, but let's do it.
All right, so it's a remember when today, and it's very easy, actually.
Okay. Don't set me up, and if I get it, and then I struggle with it. Like, come on now.
Well, okay.
You're setting me up.
No, I'm not. Okay, here we go. Which country tested its first nuclear weapon in 2006?
2006? North Korea.
He got it.
I guessed. I'm like to Kim Jong. Yeah, I say okay. Who?
I was like, yeah, there's only one crazy man that's been doing that over the last decade.
I know stuff. Look at that.
Raj got it, folks. I mean, my goodness. Well, see, Michelle White got it. Okay, everyone, that was an easy one, I guess. Maybe I'll have to come harder the rest of the week with you.
Let's not. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no. Okay, you're good. Anyway, let's final thoughts on this morning's conversation on demonstration. Then obviously the conversation with Erica. Final thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Erica, she made such a good point about a lack of data. I worked in the third sector for a bit, not in healthcare, because I'm not in a charity with a healthcare focus, but I remember going to this professional development opportunity, and it's something that came up, that the data here, our data collection in Bermuda, is not at standard, and it makes decision making. It limits decision making in a very profound way. And as a country with, and I say this all the time, as a country with one of the most respected financial regulation frameworks in the world, and the things that we do in the financial sector, we have some things that are behind, and we really have to improve our data collection in Bermuda across the board. So that's my thought on that.
Yeah. Anything on the earlier discussion?
Yeah, the protest. We brought up this word performative, and I think when something's performative, it lacks substance, right? And I don't think that's what this protest is. I think this protest has a lot of substance. What it lacks is organization. So I wouldn't. Maybe let's step away from the word performative, because if people don't have the capacity, or don't have the expertise to organize intentionally, they still have the right to do something. And, and I think people are coming together for a reason. It's no secret that Bermudians are frustrated. I mean, I'm not trying to chant down anybody. The fact of the matter remains, I remember in the leadership contest between Premier Byrd and Curtis Dickinson, the Royal Gazette, they had up a little poll of, people voting who would they choose. It had about 1,400 responses. And, the Premier had about 4% of people choose him, and 90 some odd percent went to Curtis Dickinson. So it's no secret that there's a certain level of dissatisfaction and disaffection in Bermuda with our political institutions right now. What I think we need to start doing across the board is start being honest. Just be honest, enough playing politics and saying things are fine, your frustrations don't matter, you don't understand. No, we do understand, we're not okay. And what lessons can we learn now to improve ourselves as a people instead of continuing to play politics?
Yeah, there was a letter by I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but the MP Adams from the PL yesterday, and it was just like, and I say this in the most respectful way ever. Either they are this stupid, or they believe that the people of Bermuda are that stupid. And something tells me it could be a combination of both, but I believe that they think the people of Bermuda are that stupid.
Yeah.
Folks, I believe that protests, people, for instance, would say, oh, you're always talking, not doing. Talking is a form of protest. Conversation is a good start. And I don't, I feel like if we do and say nothing and just focus on our own lives, we're doing ourselves a disservice. So as Rod said, organization is probably the most important part. My hope is that it leads someplace, but you have to keep the pressure on. I don't think there's no exact perfect way to do it. Times change, people evolve, situations evolve. But you have to keep the pressure on. You can't go show up one day to the gym and expect results. You can't.
That's a really good analogy.
Wait. As far as the conversation with Erica Fulton, she's right. My aunt and her husband have been taking care of my nana. She said that it was felt about, family members being the caregivers. I remember when I was going away to college, probably before you even started high school. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I remember, and people were saying you should study international business or finance and accounting, and I didn't want to do that. And I know you probably got the same, trying to direct you a certain way.
I'm still getting it.
Yeah, but my hope is that we're directing people to the needs of the country now. We need people in healthcare. We need people with certain expertise. This is a hard thing to deal with. I just looked at my mom, and she passed last year from cancer. Just even, that looking at the care that was needed in that respect, and it not being in family. So it did stand out to me. The care part really, really stood out to me, that we desperately need people in these spaces. I'm glad you brought up the data thing, because when she said that, I said to myself, we do a horrible job across the board in Bermuda when it comes to data. Think about it. We don't even know how many Bermudians have left the country for the UK, right? It's across the board. And at some point, we have to actually get responsible in these spaces. Why? I know some people just want to throw data away. Yeah, Steve Jobs was brilliant. He didn't care for data. He didn't ask people what they wanted. He told you, and look at you all today. Have your iPhones, iPads, whatever. But data helps you make good, decent decisions, better decisions. And then when it comes to healthcare, if we have an understanding that this amount of people are diagnosed, we can then say, okay, let's now figure out, is it something in the water, something in the air, something in our space? We can then make decisions to say, okay, it's not as serious as we thought, but let's take a closer look, because the people in these spaces are being impacted more. Data can help us become a more healthy community. You've got daily inspirational quote for us, or should I give it, Raj?
I do have, and right before I give it, and I mean, again, the data piece. So, I mean, we all know that air pollution is an issue in a particular part of the country, right? In Bermuda. I'm from St. David's, man. Berkeley area, you know what I'm trying to say, right? But again, that's also, and if you want to bring it like a socioeconomic and racial lens to it, and if you had that data to look at what's the prevalence of dementia in that area specifically, that would be very interesting to know, right? Because then that's an environmental justice piece there and all kinds of different things. So yeah, that was just something I definitely wanted to share. My inspirational quote for today is from the inimitable W.E.B. Du Bois. And he says, "Ignorance is a cure for nothing."
I mean, I couldn't have said it any more concise and better than that, right? That's your E.L. Fisher's Daily Inspiration, folks. Please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medicals, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. He's Roger Denbrook. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. Raj, you coming back tomorrow?
Yeah, of course I am.
All right, we're out. See you later.